Welcome back to SportsZone. I am your host, John Phillips, and UNT Basketball is underway. Here to talk with me about it is Haley Stum and Q Cherry. Guys, the doubleheader just happened. What team impressed you the most? I mean, 2 great games for our teams.
I'll go first. For me, I can't really pick a team to decide with. Like you can see for our men's team, we got a 20-point victory over, and then for our women's team, an absolute blow against some JV school that pulled up. But at the same time, for our women's, like I can't really celebrate a win that we blew them out by, and for our men's, we struggled in the first half. So I don't know if I can really give us the better win, us or the men the better win.
That's fair. Haley, who do you think had the better win out of the 2 teams?
See, I'd argue with you. I'd say there's a lot to celebrate, especially on the women's side. 6 mean green players scored in double figures, and the team held the Lady Eagles to single-digit points in 3 of the 4 quarters. The first quarter was rocky, but Jason Burton went to the sideline and said, let's apply some more half-court pressure, and it worked. They tied the program record for most points scored in a quarter with 38, so a lot to celebrate on the women's side. I think the men showed out in the second half of that game, not necessarily the first half, but they got 10 or 11 of their players in the game, and they had 2 freshmen score their first collegiate points, so I think there was a lot to root for both teams.
That's fair. I definitely got to go with you for the women's game. I think that was the most impressive win, and we got to talk who impressed you the most, because before the season we talked a lot about a lot of transfer players, a lot of players from lower levels. You know, who stood out to you during this game for the women?
It was the transfer from Coppin State, senior guard T.K. Hammond for me on the women's side. She was the leading scorer in the game with 22 points. She also shot 7 for 8 from the field and knocked down 6 3-pointers. And if you watch the game, those were not easy threes. They were some tough shots. So she definitely was my pick from the women's side. She's going to be a huge weapon for Burton in this squad to spread out opposing defenses.
That's fair, yeah. With every team, you need someone who can space the floor. And as you said last night, she was making difficult shots, and she was making a lot of shots, a lot of volume. Who impressed you the most, Q?
I guess 6 threes in the game is crazy. I'm going to piggyback off you. If you can make 6 threes, you're going to be, in my eyes, most valuable. Spacing is everything in this game.
That's fair. I'm going with a little bit of a different player than you guys, a little bit different from spacing. You know, Tiona Lidge. I think the transfer from Southern looked really good. You know, she had a career high coming over from Southern in her first game at UNT, which you always want to see from transfers. You want to see, them producing early on. But we dominated that game. There's not much we can really say because we blew them out by so many points. The men's game, like you both said, was a little bit closer in the first half. I want to hear a little bit more about your thoughts for that game. Why was it kind of close in the first half?
Well, just to be frank, I want to call it first game jitters. There was just a lot of miscues, a lot of ball handling issues. There was one guy that stuck out for me, and that would be the player that looked the best for me respectively, and that would be sophomore guard G-Sean Stevenson. Just solely based on his performance in the first half. He only had 20 minutes, and they were all in the first half. He had a team-leading 18 points. He was a huge part of keeping North Texas in a game that was really tight in the first half. He had 2 threes and also contributed defensively with 3 steals. He's not only my pick, but he's head coach Daniel Robinson's as well. I spoke to him post-game, and he said, G-Sean's a special kid. He's mature beyond his years. He's a high IQ player, high-character young man. He's our hardest worker, and he honestly carried us in the first half. So it's kind of hard to argue with Coach Robinson there.
Yeah, Coach Robinson kind of knows best there. But you mentioned there 3 steals. You know, the turnovers were a big part of this game. We forced a lot of turnovers. How did that make you feel about the game?
I mean, turnovers on both sides. We can attribute it to first half jitters. We can see players being sloppy with the ball, you know, getting into the post, then getting ripped, or getting a steal, then getting stolen right back to a bucket for a layup. Like, again, turnovers lose you games, but getting turnovers gets you, more points. To my knowledge, we had more steals than them.
Yeah, we forced more turnovers than them. We forced 28 turnovers, and we committed 25 turnovers, I believe. Right. I mean, a little bit closer than you want for a D2. Does that concern you for the rest of the season, Haley?
It does a little bit, but you've got to factor in that this was Daniel Robinson's first game at the helm. He has taken over a program that historically has been known for their defense, and although defense is a signature of Robinson's team, that's a huge burden, I guess, to carry in terms of continuing that legacy and trying to bring the team an NCAA appearance first time since 2021, I believe, trying to get out of that NIT. So I don't think it's concerning. I'm excited to see what they do tonight because I think that'll be the first true test. Again, it's the first game under a new team, new system. This was one of 6 rosters that completely turned over their roster. Not a single player returned. None of their coaches returned. The only people in the program that returned were the broadcasters from the year prior. So it's kind of hard to be mad at a performance where you win 88-54, you get everything out of the way, and they looked like the team that I saw in the exhibition against Louisiana by the end of the game.
That's fair. Like you said, this is an entirely new team, and it's really hard to gel immediately like that. And you also mentioned we have a game coming up tonight, the first D1 game for Coach Daniel Robinson. I mean, how do you guys think we're going to do against Northwestern State tonight?
To my knowledge, didn't they lose their last game against SMU?
They did.
Like, why not us? Do I not see us blowing them out as well? Or not even blowing us out. I'll say 10 point. 10 point feels fair.
Haley, how do you feel about this game?
So the women, Grambling State, their opponent Friday actually lost to SMU.
Okay,
But the men's opponent, Northwestern State, they lost to Texas A&M. Still a prominent
Another Texas school.
opponent.
I always knew with the Texas school that was up there.
We were on the same wavelength there. This is the third year of Rick Cabrera's team. They had a very rough showing against the Aggies. They're going to try to build on some offense after a lot of lull on defense, which I think Robinson's defense looked great at the end of the second half. This is a team that, again, historically is good at defense. So if we go head for head there, I think North Texas has the edge. But again, this is a team that's going to be very telling. Head coach Rick Cabrera said in his presser this week that North Texas is going to be a really physical team. This is something that Jay Sean Stevenson has said in pressers and something Robinson has really prided himself about this program. So expect it to be physical. I think North Texas outdoes Northwestern State in that area and wins this one.
That's fair. I mean, I completely agree. Like you said, Sean Stevenson, Coach Robinson, they mentioned the physicality. Q, is there anyone on this team that you think is really physical and stepping up for this team? Maybe Reese Robinson, the coach's son, you know?
Reese Robinson?
Yes.
Guess I'll choose Reese Robinson, the coach's son. How is he physical? Does he get to the basket a lot?
So he actually fouled out in the game against New Mexico Highlands. So he is physical.
Very physical,
maybe
yes.
a little bit too much.
But you need those kind of tone setters in the first game, I think.
Enforcers. I love the enforcers.
Well, enforcers in terms of, obviously, setting the tone. But when you're pushing the envelope a little bit too much, the envelope pushes back. So when you're fouling, you're giving the other team, free chances, free points. You're changing the trajectory of the game. So yes, I agree. Physicality is super important, but you got to do it to a point where you have discipline, and you don't want a young team to get too excited.
To be honest, I would rather have to pull a player back than to force you to do something.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, but I wouldn't say Reese Robinson is setting the tone for the game in terms of picking up fouls. I don't think that's a correct take because you're hurting the team ultimately. Although you're showing some flashy athleticism doesn't show up on the scoreboard. Points show up on the scoreboard, and fouling out shows up on the scoreboard. So you got to take that into consideration.
Can I argue with that?
But later in the season, maybe that flashy athleticism turns into a little bit more. We have to hope. We've talked about the men's team, that women's team. How do you see the Grambling game going for them? Haley?
I mean, in terms of matching up with Grambling State, I think this is a wonderful matchup for UNT. The Tigers just lost to SMU by 26 points on Tuesday. They allowed 5 players to score in double figures. So when you're allowing different styles of players to be really successful against you, that's not exactly a good sign in terms of how you're being able to defend the net. With how high octane this women's basketball team is for North Texas, I just see them shining against Grambling State. Grambling State was able to put up 60 points against SMU, but the way that they're defending right now, I just see North Texas just beating them in a shootout.
That's fair. Yeah, you mentioned the 5 different players and different scores. We had 6 in our first game. So, I mean, this is definitely a team that can score in bunches, and I expect them to do that. But our defense played really well in the second half, really every quarter but the first one. I mean, do you think that we're going to be able to slow down the Grambling offense, even though they scored a lot on SMU?
Yeah, I do, and I think it starts with transfer senior forward Megan Nestor. She led the game in rebounds. She grabbed 10 boards, and she also contributed 17 points to the team's scoring effort on the other side of the ball. She was named to the Lisa Leslie Center of the Year award, preseason top 20. So when you've got one of the best centers in the nation, that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, Megan Nestor is someone that I said preseason I really liked. Q, you have something to say?
Is there any chance that our women's team gets sucker punched in the mouth after coming off an easy victory?
With Coach Burden, I don't think so. I think Coach Burden is a coach that has his team motivated at all times and ready to play. I mean, we'll have to see. UNT men's team plays tonight and the women's team plays tomorrow. That's all the time we have for this block. Next block, we'll be looking at the college basketball landscape at large. Join me after these commercial breaks.
Hey Alex, this guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounce checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me.
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
Are you tired of seeing the same old city? You want to learn something and go overseas? Then study abroad with one of many UNT Study Abroad programs. You can find a Study Abroad office right here at Markey Hall, room 145.
My study abroad program left on me a great impression. We have a lot of different programs and it varies. We have faculty-led, affiliate, and exchange programs. When you're ready to leave for your study abroad program from UNT, you're gonna go through pre-departure orientation and modules so that you are prepared.
The power to turn the world into your classroom is right here at UNT with our study abroad programs. Take flight and take in charge of your education.
I use Flex to buy my favorite snacks.
I use Flex to get me through my mornings.
I use Flex at my favorite campus restaurants.
I love how Flex is a cashless payment method and can be used at all campus dining venues.
So, how do you use Flex?
Back to SportsZone. Last block we talked about UNT college basketball, but this block we will be taking a look at the entire league. Talking with me are Jacob Garcia and Tina Orozco. Guys, this first week has been very exciting. What game stood out to you the most?
I think right off the bat, Florida and Arizona, right off the defending champs, going up against a good Arizona team in Las Vegas. With Arizona, the Wildcats pulling out the upset. 6-point win, 93-87. A lot of impressive players there. Koa Pete.
We'll talk a little bit more about Koa Pete in a little bit, but that game was definitely one. Tina, any other games impress you early on?
For me, it's New Orleans Privateers versus TCU. Huge upset for TCU, 78-74. It's the first win for New Orleans against a Power 4 school since 2016. This is not a good start for TCU. They definitely underestimated what power they were going to face. TCU broke their 11-game win streak for game openers for the season. Colton Benson for New Orleans led with 22 points, and Denton native MJ Thomas helped, providing 10 points. A good look on them. Bad look for TCU this week.
TCU, a lot of people thought they might be sleepers to make the tournament this year as a bubble team, and their hopes may be already dead already. I mean, it was rough.
Yeah.
But, you mentioned Koa Pete a little bit. Let's talk about these freshmen, because this week was really a week about the freshmen. There were so many impressive performances. Koa Pete, I'm assuming.
Koa Pete put up 30 on shooting 18 from the field to go with 7 boards and 5 assists. He just looked physical, and a lot of his points came in the second half. In the paint, Arizona was just the more physical team. And, Koa Pete, again, going up against a talented front court from a Florida Gators championship team, and he went in there, he looked like a veteran. First game, he's only 18 years old, so he's got a lot of growing to do. It's going to be exciting to see where he goes.
There was no stopping Koa Pete and Jaden Bradley. That duo was
Jaden
phenomenal against Florida and Arizona. That was incredible.
With freshmen, you really expect them in these powerful or these physical contests, with a team like Florida, where they're returning players from a national championship winning team. And he just showed that there was no struggle for him at all transitioning over to college basketball. Did any other college or freshmen impress you?
For me, it's North Carolina's power forward, Caleb Wilson, standing at 6'10". In his debut, he scored 22 points against Central Arkansas, 14 of those being dunks. Again, because he's 6'10", that's incredible. He had a great debut. Then again, they play Kansas tomorrow on Friday, so we'll see how he faces and if he continues to have his good freshman debut for them.
I was watching that UNC game, and I saw a pretty crazy stat about Caleb Wilson. First ever UNC freshman to break the 20-point barrier in his debut.
Wow.
Michael Jordan
And
never did it.
That's insane.
All the talent that's come
come through UNC, they have never scored as many points as Caleb Wilson did.
This is an insane freshman class.
Another freshman I want to touch on was AJ DeBonsa from BYU. He's just absolutely phenomenal. Like I said with Koa Pete, I got the same vibe. He was just physical in the interior. He had 21 points, 50% from the field, 9 from 18 shooting, with 6 boards and 3 assists. He, at 6'8", he is he looks the part of a future NBA star, and I think BYU is going to make some noise in a stacked Big 12. I know Houston's in there as well, but I think they're going to make a deep
now
run.
after the
And
Florida
Arizona
game,
now,
I
of
mean.
course. So the Big 12, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I think with all the freshmen we've mentioned, we're really seeing the future of basketball. A lot of 6'10", 6'8", a lot of big ball handlers. Cameron Boozer, another one for Duke, who had a pretty impressive game, even though the first half was really rough. But by the time we got to the second half, we saw the Cameron Boozer we all expected, and he's another one in that same mold of a bigger player that is physical and still can handle that ball a little bit. But you mentioned the Big 12 being a difficult conference. I mean, what title contenders impressed you the most for this first week?
Houston, right off the bat, just the defense that they play and the system that they run. And as I said, I think BYU is going to make a run at it. I think the Big 12, like I said, there's a lot of talent there. Baylor's too, and Baylor's in there as well. They're always solid in basketball. I think the Big 12 is going to come down to Houston and BYU. And so that tournament at the end of the year, when the Big 12 tournament, it's going to be very, very exciting to see how that goes.
That's fair, Tina. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I got Houston. They were my biggest contender for what I saw opening week. They've done really well so far. They're gunning for a win this year after they came runner-up last year. It was Kelvin Sampson's 800th career win in their opening game, 75-57 over how would you say that? Lehigh?
Yeah, I believe it's Lehigh. Don't say that name around Duke fans.
But Emmanuel Sharp, Milo Zahn, they have such a strong leading team, so I see them going pretty far for them.
That's fair. We talked about it a little bit for me, but I think Arizona is the team that impressed me the most. You said Jaden Bradley. He really showed out. I mean, he had a career high for points.
27
points. I mean, he really impressed me against a backcourt for Florida that I think is really talented. They have Xavier Lee. They have a lot of talent back there, and I think he looked really good. So I think Arizona is a team that I'm scared of when it comes to the future, Yeah. What team disappointed you the most, though? We've talked about the impressed, but
it has to be TCU. That's what I have for the most disappointing team, going up against this New Orleans team, and TCU just looked uninspired. Coming out of the second half, I mean, neither team really had anything going. In the first 5 minutes, TCU only had 6 points, and they shot 38% over the game and 11% from the field, and from three, and that is awful. And so, they couldn't weather the storm. They had chances at the end, and they just couldn't make the shots, and that's just not going to win you the game every time. It doesn't matter. They can't clutch up.
Yeah, that's really important. Tina, any other teams disappoint you?
For me, it's Boise State versus Hawaii Pacific. They lost against a D2 school, 79-78. Again, underestimating a small school. They lacked energy and lacked focus because they thought they were facing a bunch of chumps, and they didn't. They lost.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii Pacific wasn't even getting votes in the top 25 for D2, and Boise State is a consistent tournament team, a team that people can expect to win 20 games, and to lose to a D2 team in your first game, that is just not a look you want. I mean,
not at all.
But for the rest of the season, I mean, who do you see, making those deep runs, getting to maybe the Final Four? Who are your contenders for the season?
For my Final Four, I have UConn, Kentucky, Houston, and my hometown, Lubbock, Texas Tech. So maybe a controversial take, but I feel like they might do well. Their head coach, Grant McCarlin, is a newer coach, but within the last 2 years, he's had a great success for them. They have a strong team. J.J. Toppin, Christian Anderson Jr., and Lawan Watts. They have a strong team, so I see them going forward. Again, with Houston as well. I see Texas being in there.
And with Grant McCasland, I mean, former UNT coach, we know what he can do. We saw him beat Purdue in the tournament. It was so long ago. But speaking of that, we've seen another UNT coach do really well, Ross Hodge with West Virginia. They had a really good opening game. I mean, is UNT becoming kind of a coaching pipeline for the rest of the league? Are they going to start scouting our coaches early, do you think?
I definitely think so. I feel like that's just UNT in general, though.
Yeah.
I mean, not even just in basketball. You go last year, Chandler Morris and all that, and all the talk now that's surrounding the great football season we're having. So I think UNT is just a feeder school in a way, unfortunately.
We just breed great talent.
Hey, that's another way to look at it. We breed the best talent in the league. I mean, Jacob, who are your contenders for the season, though?
So my Final Four, I have UConn, Houston, Purdue, and give me St. John's. Rick Pitino is going to break through, veteran coach. They're going to get to the Final Four, and through it all, I see Houston winning it with their physical defense that they play, the system that they run. Give me Houston as the national champions. And one thing I did see, I saw a lot of people quitting on Florida already after this loss. And I don't think that they lost by 6 to a talented Arizona team. And right here, Florida shot 27 threes and only hit 7 of them. The shots just weren't falling, So on top of how impressive, like I said, Arizona was, Florida is not just, they didn't fall off that bad.
Sometimes when there's a tough loss, sometimes people take away the wrong message. They say, oh, this team's terrible, when really it's the other team that really impressed. And I think this is a classic example of that because Arizona really impressed, but that doesn't take away from Florida. Like you said, they're talented and they're still going to make a deep run in this tournament. But I've also bought into the Big 12, mania. I think that I could see a lot of Big 12 teams making that Final Four. I could see BYU, I could see Arizona, I could see Houston. I really could see all of them making that
Freshman
deep run.
takeover. It seems like the freshmen are just kind of running the game now.
Kind of.
In a way.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the Big 12 being that strong conference, though, are there any other conferences that you think are ones to watch out for that could have a lot of tournament teams making it this year?
I think it just comes down to the Big 12 and the SEC. I don't see that many Big 10 schools making that strong of a push. I guess you could argue Michigan and Purdue, like you said, but I think the majority of the tournament teams and the powerhouses in college basketball throughout most of the season, the top 25 is going to be the Big 12 and the SEC, as it usually is. I don't expect much different.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Tina, do you see any like group of 5 conferences maybe stealing a lot of bids, you know?
Again, I think the Big 12 is going to be their main point of view, I guess, in the Final Four, but I think it's going to be that maybe month, February, January, leading up to that, where they face some different schools, and then from there, then they get to there. So, I don't know.
So, I mean, this week is not over. It's the opening week, but there's still games going on. I mean, are there any games coming up this week that you think you're really looking forward to?
So my Final Four pick, St. John's, they play Alabama on Saturday. That's going to be a great game. That's an early season test of how they'll do against a top team. I think Alabama's ranked 15th or something like that, and they're going to St. John's. But either way, it's a great early test in the season to see where they stand.
And I feel like Alabama's still kind of a little bit underrated. I think they still have that kind of guard rotation that they've had in those successful years when they were making deep runs into March. But we'll have to see for the rest of the season. There's a lot of ball left to be played, but that's all the time we have for this segment. Next block, we'll be talking about the NFL trade deadline. Join me after these commercial breaks.
Looking to open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DatQ Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DatQ Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DatQ's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.datq.org to learn more. DatQ, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Are you looking for a fun club with travel opportunities? Dive into the UNT Swim Club. Practicing Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Pole Recreation Center. We accept members at any skill level. For more information, reach out to us at unt.swimclub on Instagram. Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, John Phillips. And before we start this block, I would like to take a moment of silence for Marshawn Nealon, the Dallas Cowboys edge today. He committed suicide, and I just want to take a moment for him. But now we're going to talk about the rest of the NFL. It's been the trade deadline. The Cowboys made a lot of moves to address that defense. I mean, what do you guys think about those moves? The first move was Logan Wilson. How do you guys think about that trade?
I think that's a solid trade for them. I mean, they needed to do something. I mean, their defense has been getting torn apart all season long. So the fact that they are doing something to try to address, the complaints and just the poor play, getting a good guy like Logan Wilson, because even though he was a part of a kind of a poor Cincinnati Bengals unit, he's a good player. So hoping, and I think all of Cowboys Nation's hoping that him and some of these other additions they made could help what's been going on.
That's fair. His athleticism, I think, is a little bit fading. He's struggled a little bit, but I think with some better pieces around him, he could really show out. I mean, Bowie, what do you think about the value for that trade?
I believe it's going to be really good long-term, especially in stopping the run, because Dallas has been really shaky on that this year, and I think with a game coming up against the Raiders with Genty, he could be hit or miss, and he could hit, so him being there, Logan being there for that trade and just that moment will be huge.
Yeah, I think this Raiders game is going to be a really good chance to evaluate our players because, like you said, GT is a dangerous running back, and the Cowboys struggled stopping that run. And another trade they made that we have to talk about, I mean, Quinnen Williams is a Dallas Cowboy. That's the blockbuster move that Jerry was talking about. He said a move would get done, and it did. I mean, how are you guys feeling? What are your reactions for that trade?
I think I agree with what Mike Greenberg said on First Take, I think, earlier this week. I like what the Jets have done this trade deadline season, kind of just selling. I mean, obviously, this season hasn't gone well for them at all, so kind of just shipping things out. And I think, obviously, only time will tell in a year when the Jets kind of use these picks that they acquired from Dallas if it was a good trade and who won it. But looking at it right now, I think Dallas kind of overpaid in a way for him. I mean, he's a great player, great run stuffer. I've been a big fan of his for a while since he's been in the league. But ultimately, that's a lot. And I think the Cowboys could look in the future and say they could have really used those picks.
That's fair. And you talked about Logan Wilson being part of a struggling defense. I mean, it's the exact same thing for Quinnen Williams. The Jets defense struggled this year, didn't force a lot of turnovers and looked really bad. I mean, Bowie, do you agree with it being a slight overpay, or do you think that the Cowboys needed to make this move?
This is a move that I think, yeah, maybe you needed to pay a higher cost, but just thinking long term, it is something that is going to help just starting at the front line for the Cowboys and making their way back is a good start, because I think that will completely change the whole outlook and the image of the defense. So if they fix that, it'll just keep going good forward.
That's fair. With this trade, a lot of the focus has been on Quinnen Williams and the picks, but I do want to take a second to mention Mozzie Smith got traded to the Jets. He was a failure in Dallas, to say the least. Do you think that a change of scenery and maybe a different defense with Aaron Glenn could, shake things up, break out maybe?
I don't really know. I think we've seen from players, in the NFL these past few years just kind of going to the Jets. It just doesn't ultimately work out. Hoping, just for him personally, he could turn his career around. Usually changing the scenery helps with that, especially if he's going to be leaned on in a bigger role compared to how he was in Dallas. So, but I don't know. It's the Jets. So
yeah, the Jets, like you said, I've liked what they've done this trade deadline, but they've had a history of mismanagement. They're still the Jets, But they made another big move. Sauce Gardner to the Colts, 2 firsts and A.D. Mitchell. A lot of value there. Bowie, what do you think about that trade for both sides?
In my opinion, I believe New York won the trade, because if you think about it, Sauce has been playing I would say, below average this year. He got torched by Stephon Diggs in 2025. So realistically, I think the Jets won it, but he's in a new scenery, Sauce, with the Colts. The Colts are number 1 or number 2 in the AFC right now. So realistically, this completely flips the script. They're going all in, and I see this being good for both sides.
I think Lou Anarumo, you talked about change of scenery, and I think he's the defensive coordinator for the Colts, and I think his scheme really fits Sauce Gardner, because Sauce is at his best when he's pressing, when he's up at the line of scrimmage with his length, his athleticism, just really using that against the receivers. And Lou Anarumo is a top 5 in press percentage this season. This is a scheme that's really going to fit his strengths. What do you think about this trade?
I think it's a great trade. Props to the Colts. You can clearly tell that they're going all in on this team and believe, and I think they should. Great start to the season. No one expected them to be where they are right now. So getting a guy like Sauce Gardner, yeah, I think Bowie made a great point. Hasn't played as good, compared to his Defensive Player of the Year seasons before. But I think, change of scenery, going to bed 1-7, waking up 7-2 is kind of like a breath of fresh air for him. So I think he'll fit in great with this unit, and ultimately it's going to work out. And I think, obviously, you'll have to see what the Jets do with it from what they received, but I like what the Colts did.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Jets, because Mozzie Smith, obviously, he was more of a throw-in for the Quinnen Williams trade, but A.D. Mitchell, that is a kind of legit receiver who was seen as maybe the Colts wide receiver 1 in the future a couple years ago. Do you guys think that a change of scenery is going to allow him to reach that potential he had earlier?
Yeah. I think he's a great player. He's a guy who, could definitely see a role here with the Jets moving forward, and a good young player. So I like it.
Do you think that the addition of A.D. Mitchell is maybe going to help them evaluate Justin Fields a little bit more? Do you think maybe they were thinking the offense was too rough to evaluate him and they needed another weapon to really give him that full grade?
Yeah, I believe so, because realistically the Jets have a shopping list of things that they need to change, and I feel like starting with someone like that who's young and has really good potential is just something that will create a good path. Yeah.
That's fair. There weren't some other trades. Let's talk about some of those other trades. What were your guys' favorite trades this trade deadline?
We already hit on it, but and I kind of was talking about it a good minute there. But Sauce Gardner to the Colts, I think he's going to get back to his original form for sure. So I'm a fan of it, and I like what the Colts did with that.
Bowie, I know you're a Seahawks fan, and they made a trade that I kind of like. This trade deadline. What do you think about the Rashid Shaheed deal?
I mean, I believe that it's a good start because considering the last time Jackson Smith and Jigba played the Cardinals, he was held to a season low 79 yards. So I think with that addition and him probably being double teamed against the Cardinals, I think he'll be there for the deep throws from Sam Darnold.
And some people would say that the Seahawks wide receiver core is already a little bit too stacked, but I think Rashid Shaheed adds an amount of speed that they didn't really have, a type of deep threat that wasn't really in the offense. I mean, how do you think this trade's going to work out for them, Jack?
I think it's going to work out good. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Shaheed pretty fast kind of merges to that wide receiver 2 role. I think Cooper Kupp hasn't really been the Cooper Kupp he's been in the past, with these injuries that have been lingering for him these last couple seasons. And I think Rashid Shaheed is an underrated receiver, and I think coming into a unit and a team like this, Jackson Smith and Jigba, what a great year he's having. Obviously, all the eyes are going to be on him. So play action schemes, getting him down the field, Shaheed, that is, I think is going to be really good for them.
Yeah, I completely agree he's underrated because, I mean, when you play with the quarterbacks that you've had in New Orleans, you're going to be underrated. And he's going to Sam Darnold, who is one of the best deep ball quarterbacks in the league, especially this year. I think he's top 3 in EPA per play and passes over 20 yards. I mean, this is kind of perfect for the team, I'd say. Are there any other trades that you think are really perfect for this team this deadline?
Again, brought it up a good amount. I don't think I've ever said this in my life to say what I like what the Jets are doing. But ultimately, stocking up on all those picks and addressing needs for the future, I think is ultimately we're going to look back and say, because we don't know when the Cowboys, going back to them, when they're going to be good again. I think this year they're kind of in shambles. So kind of getting all that value from them, obviously losing a couple good players at this deadline, I think that'll ultimately be better for them organizationally moving forward.
So with the Cowboys, you think even with these defensive moves, you think the season is still unsavable? You don't think that they're going to recover this season?
For me, the NFC as a conference, there's so many good teams, and obviously they very well could finish second in the NFC East, but I think you got the 2 best divisions in football in the NFC, in the NFC West and NFC North, and one of those divisions could very well finish with all 4 teams making the playoffs and only leaving probably one team, like probably the Eagles, to make it out of the NFC East. So with where they're at now, losing to, getting dominated by Denver, losing to the Cardinals who were favorited, or when they were favorited against them, I think this season's they're losing it.
That's definitely fair. I mean, Bowie, you seem positive about the Cowboys' moves. Do you think that they're going to be enough, or are you still kind of on the same wavelength?
I believe that it's a good start for sure. I mean, the Raiders game is a must-win, because if they don't win that game, they're 3-6-1 going into a few weeks later against the Eagles. Eagles, one of the best teams in the NFC. If they beat the Raiders, I think that will be a good start. Hopefully they'll beat the Eagles, and then the Chiefs game, who knows? It's Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, yeah, I think this game is really big for us, but we'll have to see if these trade deadline additions can make that kind of impact for us. That's all the time we have for this block. Next top block, we'll be talking about some DFW stadiums. Join me after these commercials.
Hey UNT students, looking for creativity and inspiration? The UNT Union Gallery invites you to experience artwork at the art exhibit from your own talented Eagle artists. This free exhibit features a rotating selection of incredible artwork from talented Mean Green artists. Don't miss your chance to experience creativity up close. Stop by anytime during union hours. Want to hear more from the artist yourself? Join us at the Ask and Eat reception, where you can dive deeper into the creative process and enjoy a good conversation over a bite to eat. Don't miss the latest exhibit at the UNT Union. Immerse yourself in the art, and be sure to explore the many other exciting exhibits rotating in throughout the semester.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
I wonder what's on the radio today. I don't know about this. This is not it.
Everything alternative, commercial free. 88.1 Indie.
Here at KNTU, we have two traditional stations, 88.1 Indie and KNTU Jazz. We've also recently launched an internet radio station called Mean Green Hits. If you want to hear more, you can check us out at MediaNorthTexas.com.
That was pretty good.
Back to SportsZone. I'm joined by Oscar Chavez, Gunnar Talbot. Recently, we got the news that the Stars were hosting these series in 2027. You know, they're going to be, there's a lot of events coming in DFW recently. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about this recent run that DFW's been on?
I feel great, all right? We're up. Dallas is up. Like, our sports, like, maybe our sports teams aren't performing the best, let's be honest, but at least the city is growing, right? We got the semifinal for the World Cup game. We got now this the stadium series. Like, more events are coming to Dallas, and Dallas is becoming more of that destination city.
Yeah, I'm not a huge hockey nor soccer guy, but having the World Cup here, having the stadium series here, it makes for a great event to go in case you aren't into these events. So let's say you're not a soccer guy, let's say you're not a hockey guy. You go out, stadium series, sure, it's going to level up your expectations going forward to the next games, but it's a big case for Dallas. Like you said, we're up.
We are up.
I don't think other than our sports teams we're down.
No, yeah, and think about the money this is going to bring, especially for the World Cup, the traffic, the flights.
I don't even want to think about
I don't want to think about the traffic.
DFW already has some of the worst. I don't know if you've seen our traffic patterns lately. They're bad.
Dude, I'm not looking forward to that at all. But I mean, what events are you guys the most, you know, you're not a soccer or a hockey guy. What events are you the most excited for coming up?
Well, since I'm not a big hockey guy, I do want to go to that stadium series just to maybe take a look at it. The Stars have been good the past decade now. They've been in constant playoff contention. However, that just hasn't really threaded the needle. In 2020, when they did make that World Series, I still wasn't fazed. But the Stadium Series coming here, it's going to be an environment that I could immerse myself in. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to be keeping up with the puck that fast. I mean, they just go too fast.
No, I mean, unlike, I'm on a completely different boat than him. I'm a big soccer guy, right? When I heard that the World Cup was coming to Dallas, I was pumped. I was really excited. I thought we were going to get the final. I think we were going to get the final.
I think it was like public transportation.
I mean, that's probably why.
I don't know if you guys heard this, but Arlington is the biggest city in North America that doesn't have public transportation, right?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
So that's why they gave it to New York, but I'm excited to see the Mbappe's Achilles on that turf field.
Oh, dude, I also am a big soccer guy, and I am super hyped for the World Cup, even though it's impossible to get tickets. You know, you can't even buy tickets if you want to the Dallas ones.
So that leads me to an argument about the volunteering at the World Cup. Guys, dude, I don't know about that.
I've signed up for the email notifications. I'm volunteering at the World Cup if I can, dude. Free tickets.
I went to a Rangers game this past August, and I saw a booth about it. I got this sick little World Cup keychain. All right, I'm on their call list. I'm on their email list.
Get me on there, man.
I got a guy.
Okay, so like here's this. With all the billions that the World Cup generates, they can't lousy up a few coins, a few dollars for some broke UNC college students. I mean, come on. I'm not living off of money right now, and I'm sure y'all are not. So
I'll be taking out a loan for this ticket, basically. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some politicians say they could do it with dynamic pricing. You know, I saw Zoran Mamdani say that. But I think that the ticket prices for all of these DFW events are kind of outrageous. You know, one event I went to was AEW All In, a wrestling event. They held one of their big pay-per-views at AT&T Stadium, and I spent $500 on tickets or $400 on tickets. I mean, it's just absurd to go to events these days. I mean, are there any events you've gone to recently where you had a great time?
Oh, I had a great time. Probably my favorite Dallas sporting event ever was in 2024. I went to the first round, game 1 against the Clippers, Mavs Clippers. Great game. It was the only game Kawhi played. He got very injured that game. We won. It was a playoff atmosphere, especially for the NBA. Is one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever been at. And I feel like with the American Airlines Arena, it differs from AT&T that, like you guys were saying, it is a little bit more affordable. It's not like AT&T, I don't know what Jerry Jones is on, but every single thing is so expensive. I feel like, especially when Mark Cuban was with the Mavs, it's so expensive, but it's a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, the stadium was built in 2009, and it's still as modern as it ever was in AT&T, but it's so expensive. I mean, we look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the Atlanta Falcons. That was more recently built, somewhere around the 2020s, and they have the cheapest concession stand of all time. And even East Carolina, that's not the best school, but they're giving out free concessions. It's little stuff like that that's going to bring more people to your stadium, have a better joy. But with the whole World Cup just generating so much money, I just don't think it's fair. But moving on to like my favorite.
Yeah, what's your favorite sporting event?
My favorite sporting event that I've been to in DFW. Well, everything is really crowned DFW nowadays. Little M wants to claim it's Dallas. Fort Worth wants to claim it's Dallas. What is DFW? So I want to talk about Texas high school football and how it's just massive in Texas and how you could go to nearly any event and it's going to be a blast, whatever stadium you go to. This past year, really, I've been covering the Crum Bobcats, and let me tell you, Bobcat Stadium has been electric. They're an undefeated team, little town with maybe not even 9,000 people, but I mean, they get rowdy. They have a light show every time they score, and they score a lot. They average over 50 points per game. That's going to be a light show every time they do a touchdown. It's amazing.
And you go to high school there?
No, I didn't go to. I'm just covering them.
Use this as promo. It's like, yo, shout out.
A little 4A high school that it gets really turned on every Friday. I mean, shout out Bobcat Nation.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great events that we've all been to and some ones that we will go to because I assume we're all going to the World Cup, but we'll have to see. That's all the time we have for this block. Next block, we'll be talking about the best nicknames in sports history. Join me after these messages.
Craving something fresh, flavorful, and made just for you? Look no further than Avesta, your go-to destination for a delicious, full-service dining experience. Dive into our customizable omelets, expertly crafted by our talented cook Jonathan, who guarantees every bite is perfection. All our dishes are handmade, prepared with only the freshest ingredients. Explore our assembly line where you can choose from any of our globally inspired dishes or customize your plate. It's that easy. And let's not forget dessert. Indulge your sweet tooth with treats from Clark Bakery. With convenient payment methods including card or flex, it's the perfect dining spot for any occasion. Quench your thirst with our wide selection of drinks. Just hand your drinking card to our friendly waiter, and they'll bring your beverage of choice right to your table. When you're done savoring every last bite, our attentive staff will whisk away your tray. Enjoy the peaceful ambiance as you dine in, or use our takeout option for a meal on the go. Avesta.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
SportsZone. I'm your host, John Phillips, and we have a really fun block this segment. We are talking about the best nicknames in sports history. Joining me are Christian Bursich and Ian Cropper. Guys, I mean, this is a really fun one. I think nicknames really show a player's personality. I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, this was just an absolute delight to research. There are so many great nicknames across all kinds of sports, and I think they really captured the charm and character of a lot of fan bases throughout the various leagues.
I feel like you could spend hours on different sports websites just looking at the different nicknames that you've never even heard of. I mean, even in the sports I watch, there are nicknames where I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, Christian, let's start with yours. Let's start with your third best nickname of all time. We're giving our top threes. Christian, what's your third best?
My third best, it's a classic one. I figured with this one, the Greek Freak. With Giannis, Greek Freak isn't too out of the ordinary. He's from Greek. He's a freak on the basketball court. But what I think makes it so great is because when Giannis came in, people couldn't say his name. Like there are clips of ESPN analysts calling him the Greek Freak when they're giving analytical opinions because they couldn't say his name. And I think just with such a home run nickname right off the bat that we were able to run with it, still used to this day, I think you have to give it credit.
Yeah, I think early on he had that nickname because they couldn't say his name, like you said, and I think that's where a lot of great nicknames come from. They come from where not being able to say that actual name, and that's a great one. That's a really good third one.
Well, if you want to talk about a home run nickname, then you got to get to my number 3, Big Papi David Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
What a nickname. It perfectly reflects his physical size, his presence both on the mound and in the locker room. And this is one, admittedly, I'll always have a soft spot for because I grew up watching SNL, and Kenan Thompson did a great impression that really embodied everything that made the nickname also great.
And now he's back in media, David Ortiz. The Yankees lose, and and he's living up to that big nickname every time he's on TV because he's just such a big personality. I mean, he's super fun to watch. My third one is a little bit of a different vibe than your guys, a little bit of less of a, I guess, fun one. You know, mine's the Korean Zombie in MMA.
Really?
Because I think that's such a cool nickname, the Korean Zombie. I mean, it's because he never gets knocked down and he's always coming back out after he gets hit. You know, I mean, I think that's just such a cool nickname to show his perseverance. You know. But Christian, let's go to your second sport. What sport is it in the second one? Give us a little tease.
The second one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm going still with basketball because this one is just too good to pass on. I'm not gonna lie, it was gonna be my number 3, but it's so good I assumed one of y'all was gonna say it, so I kept it. White chocolate. I mean, how can you go wrong? Like we all know that one guy on the basketball court who we're just like, wow, like how does he move like that? Like a modern example, like Luka and Austin Reeves. People people are amazed when you see someone that doesn't look like similar to everyone. You know, that stands out. And it makes it really special, and the nickname is just so fitting. Like Jason Williams, he was such a funny guy. He really relished that nickname. Had people call him it. Like it was made jokes about it. It was funny.
And I mean, like you said, one of the best highlight tapes of all time. He was really just, I mean, so smooth on the court. And I think chocolate has a really long lineage in NBA nicknames that you don't really think of. You know, you have so many. You have Daryl Dawkins, Chocolate Thunder. You have White Chocolate. You have so many, and I think White Chocolate might be the best out of the chocolates. Ian, do you agree?
I mean, I think that's a good one, but for my number 2, I got to go with a classic, Megatron. I mean, we talked about how much of a physical freak Giannis is, but with Calvin Johnson, it was like he wasn't even human. A man that big and that strong should not be that fast. It really reflected both his size and his terrifying presence on the football field. That was a man that you just did not want to see opposite you if you were a defender.
I think the best nicknames in sports are the ones where even if you don't know the player, you've never seen them play, you don't know what they're about, you hear the name and you go, I don't want to guard this guy. Get me away from this guy. I don't want to be anywhere near him. And Megatron is a great example of that. Christian, can you think of any other names like that? You know, like
I think that a good example of one like that, I'm kind of Showtime. I'm sorry, I blanked for a second. Showtime, Shohei Ohtani in LA, the city, the Showtime Lakers. Obviously, the Dodgers and Lakers, they don't have much connected history, but they do share the city, and the Showtime Lakers, big part of the history. So I think with how big of a player he is, how crazy he is, Showtime, great nickname for Shohei Ohtani.
That's fair, and I think that the city of LA really lends itself to nicknames. There's a lot of really great ones, and my number 2 is someone that played in the city of LA for a while. It's kind of a cheat code because I'm putting maybe 5, 6, 7, you know, a lot of different nicknames in this spot. I'm going with Shaquille O'Neal because is there a player in any sport ever that has the amount of elite nicknames? This guy, I mean, can you think of anyone with that many nicknames?
No.
Big Diesel, Aristotle, Steel, Superman, Shaq Fu, I mean, Kazam, what can he, I mean, there's so many nicknames and every single one is, it's his personality. It's fun, it's goofy, but it's also dominant, it's scary. Big Diesel, Big Aristotle. This is a guy that just dominates. I mean, it's scary.
Absolutely.
And before we get into the number 1, you know, let's get some honorable mentions. You guys have any ones you want to shout out a little bit? Ian, you said.
Well, I have a fairly deep pool that I really think deserves more attention. This guy is named Jared Lorenzen. He was the backup quarterback for the New York Giants for many of the early Eli Manning years. At 285 pounds, he was the heaviest quarterback ever to play in the NFL, and he had the nickname Pillsbury Throw Boy. That is just absolutely delightful. This was one of my favorite things I discovered while researching this. More people need to know about this.
I'll be honest, you brought up Jared Lorenzen. That's not even the nickname I thought you were going to go to, because he had another very iconic nickname, the Hefty Lefty, which I think maybe even is more, I kind of like that one a little bit more.
Come on, Pillsbury Throw Boy. That's brilliant.
I do love the wordplay there, I can't lie. And also, before we get into this number one, I want to hear, what sports do you guys think have the best nicknames? Because, you know, we talked a lot about basketball. For you, what sports do you always see those better nicknames in?
I think football, personally. Like, football has a lot of, like, history with their nicknames. Like, a good example is Mapletron. Like we all know, we sadly definitely didn't live up to the hype of Calvin Johnson with Chase Claypool, but Mapletron being someone we thought was going to be as good as Megatron from Canada, great nickname. And I love how the NFL does that.
I think that's kind of an underrated genre of nicknames, the one where they are parodying one from before. Like with Aaron Wiggins, you had Air Canada. You had and another one that did not really live up to the hype for that. But I really like where you're parodying the greats from before. But I think it's finally time. Let's get into those number one nicknames. Christian, give us that number one spot.
My number one spot, this one is going to be quite a hot take because not that many people call him that anymore. But I think number one, the babyface assassin. And I'm going back to it. Stephen Curry, when the Warriors first emerged and were killing everyone in the NBA, they had no answer. This guy was coming out there, peach fuzz on his face, looking like he was a high schooler, averaging 30 a game, shooting the ball from 30 feet, doing things we had never seen before. The babyface assassin was real, and it's a shame that Curry now has that little goatee all the time because I'd like to hear that nickname come back now that he's 37 years old. It's pretty funny.
That Warriors team, I think, had a couple nicknames that went away that I'd wanted, like the Slim Reaper for KD, another elite nickname that is not used enough nowadays that I wish it was, but that's a really strong top
and rest
one.
in peace, the Splash Brothers. On
The
that
Splash
note,
Brothers,
but.
man. Clay got benched in Dallas, but let's get into your number one spot.
Now, babyface assassin is a good one, but I feel like the top nickname in all of sports should have a certain simplicity, a certain elegance. And for anyone else, I would call this nickname try hard, over-exaggerated. But for this man, a one-of-one player, it is perfectly fitting. The great one, Wayne Gretzky. That is truly the perfect nickname. I don't think there's a single person, if you polled everyone in the U.S. and Canada, who would argue it is not a fitting nickname for the greatest hockey player of all time. Someone who could dissect any opponent, or even his own teammates, just through his sheer mental power. He's like a chess grandmaster. Truly, there is no other better nickname. It's almost deific. It feels like it's honoring a religious figure, and it perfectly fits a man of Gretzky's pedigree.
Yeah, in every sport, you kind of have that guy. You know, you have the Gretzky, the LeBron, King Braun. You have his airness with MJ. You kind of have those deified players, and that's a really strong one. I kind of went the opposite direction, though. You went with a simplicity, one that is simple but strong. I went with one that is wacky and crazy and fun. He Hate Me from the XFL. You know, I think putting He Hate Me on the back of the jersey and having that kind of crazy a name just in such a... I can't imagine that being your nickname, and putting that on yourself, to me, that's the number one nickname of all time.
Yeah. I love nicknames like that don't work. Like when Ben Simmons came in and they were calling him the Prince, thinking he was going to be the next LeBron.
Or Trevor Lawrence, the Prince who was promised.
Exactly, yes. When they self-proclaim themselves and then are not good.
You can also get some value out of a bad nickname, especially when a player tries to astroturf it. Does anyone else remember when Antonio Brown was trying to call himself Mr. Big Chest?
When Nick Young came out and said, "Call me Swaggy Pete."
I can't say this one on air, but Corey Maggette looked that one up. That's a really, really bad one. But that's all the time we have for this block. Next week we will be back here. Steven will be here on Tuesdays. Thanks for joining us.